Steve Van Sampson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smale. Hello, happy Sunday, everybody. Thank Cthulhu, it is Sunday. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Clutch of Personalities. And this time we are flipping everything over. And we are having Raz actually as a guest while James is my co-host. So, everybody, this is James. You've met him before. He's
Hey, look, I'm Raz T. Slasher. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And Raz is releasing a new book.
A person who I've clearly never met before. Yeah, there's a book.
Hi, Denny. So this week, Raz, you're over in Pickwitch, aren't you still?
Yep. Every time I'm broadcasting, I'm officially here because, like I said, it's not that bad of a drive, really, and it's more fun to be here, get more space, no one to bug me. Didn't bring the cats with me today, though. I just by myself. But I'll probably crash here again tonight because I crashed here on Sunday. I actually did end up crashing the night over here, and it's pretty wild, man. Weird place, a little bit weirder than I'm used to in Ohio, which what I'm used to would drive another person probably mad in 2 seconds. But it was a little weirder than what I'm used to.
Have you heard anything about that guy that Garrett Martens?
Yes, actually, just haven't had a chance to talk to you until now, really. So I met that guy.
Okay.
He has no recollection of writing a letter to anyone.
Okay, this is getting weirder, James.
Yeah.
Okay,
but,
James, are you familiar with what we have the new satellite station that they're doing in Ohio? They've got a new building that they've been doing, and I got this really weird letter the other day from somebody in that town telling me not to go there, and so that's what we're talking about right now.
And I meant that I see tonight, Friday night, not Sunday night. I forgot it was.
Okay, yeah, it's today's Sunday.
Yeah.
But
days, man. Yeah, but he doesn't remember writing it. But I was told that he has schizophrenia, so he probably wrote. He probably did write and send it, and that version of him I spoke to in the moment just had no recollection of it.
Okay,
he does odd things sometimes, and it's normal for him not to remember doing it. So hopefully I'll have more information, or I'll meet that version of him, I guess. Get it?
Okay. That would be nice.
I know his address. I know where he lives. He's maybe 2.5 blocks from where I'm at right now.
Oh, okay. I'm more concerned as this envelope showed up in my mailbox with my name on it and sealed in, with Delphine on it.
Yeah.
Sealed in wax with no address, just at my house or my apartment.
If you send a letter back, though, you can, because I've got his address now. So,
Yeah.
If you feel like you should. Yeah,
I'll avoid that for now.
I mean, he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But everybody here, when you talk to them, seems like a pretty nice, almost too nice.
Yeah, all the best stories start with that. He seemed like a very nice guy at the time.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're looking at here, but times 10. Everybody's really, really nice. A little intense sometimes, but nice.
It's basically crows are not allowed because crows are harbingers, and they said that if I sent the vessel without the crow in, that it might get overtaken by some of the things they try to keep sleeping in the town. So I'm just going to be avoiding Pickwitch. I mean, it's not like I could just hop in a car and hit there any day anyway. But
I'm the only one on the network that can, because it's within about a half an hour-ish, a little more than half an hour from me.
Great. Why don't you take some video and see how that goes?
Oh, we have been.
We have some.
I'm actually thinking about bringing my camera here in the next week or two, and again, but while I'm staying overnight, and getting some stuff set up and to see what happens. While I'm asleep or something, just make sure there's nothing weird going on.
There's been some weird stuff. Susan, she went to go visit, and when they were staying there and shopping around, and she got video just weird. Like she walked over to the gas, or was trying to walk towards the gas station, and suddenly just was somewhere else, and then turned around and the town wasn't there, and then she got back, but and then you got stale chips.
Yep. And when she got back, her chips from the vending machine were it's crazy. And they tasted bad, like stale. I'm talking like multiple decades old stale.
Oh,
We've got some sort of background noise going on right now.
it's probably my fan. Here, let me shut it off for you.
It sounds almost like a television show or something going on.
Oh, that's my mother. She's talking on the phone, and
okay.
she has no indoor voice right now.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Not a problem.
As long as we know what it is.
Okay.
Just
I'll try
worried about
to-
interference because their stations had weird shit, and I
Yeah,
want
we've
to
had
make
some
sure that.
Okay.
I thought
Well,
it could have been on my end.
Yeah, that's what I was basically checking on. Okay, so usually, for those of you who are familiar with the Clutch, we bring on authors and storytellers that you might not know. This time we have one that we do know. And Raz is going to be giving out over the course of the night. As you comment as you're watching, you'll qualify for a chance to win a free ARC copy. It'll be an ebook copy before anybody else gets a chance to read it. And the big prize, though, tonight is getting a chance to become or make up a character for one of his future stories.
It seems like a fun thing to do to kind of connect with people. You know, like I'll sit down with you, we'll do some Zoom calls or whatever you want to do. We'll create a character either based on someone you like or don't like, maybe, and then we'll design some kind of death scene sequence or something cool together, and then I'll put it out.
So you get to kill somebody or get killed if
Yeah.
you want.
And obviously, when I put it out, it'd be credit to the person who also wins the prize, because otherwise that'd be messed up. I mean, I'm just farming. I'm using prizes for information. We're idiots.
So get your chance to be in print.
Yeah, man.
It will be awesome.
And with the people I hang out with, I mean, it could be on print. You could hear it in a story on a major podcast network elsewhere. I mean, like Chillington. Who knows? Like this story could literally go anywhere.
Right. So the book that we're talking about tonight, that's going to be coming out, is the Riverside Chronicles. And these is a collection of short stories, and they're all taking place in the same place, Riverside, where Raz was born and raised. So
It's a
why
very
don't you give us a heads up?
It's a very real town, man. You can look that up, Riverside, Ohio. A lot of the locations I use in all my novels, all my short stories, even my children's book, which we'll talk about at some point in time, they all take place in the same town I grew up in, Riverside, Ohio. And on the cover, it's really cool because the population that's listed, that's crossed out, is the actual current population of Riverside. And the number that replaces it is the address of or the number part of the address at the house I lived in growing up in Riverside. So that was kind of a super fun thing for me anyway. And that house will have its own set of stories. And what I'm now going to officially announce for probably next year, the Riverside Chronicles Volume 2, Home Sweet Home, every story in it specifically takes place at 2315 Bushnell Avenue in Riverside, Ohio, where I grew up, which if you heard a lot of my stories about the house I grew up in, a lot of those for the first time ever will be in print. That one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, most ones in color are not written down. I think like two stories. Two stories are written down. Only one has ever been seen, and that's the original Home Sweet Home story. And that's the one was the last thing that ever happened before my parents made us move.
Oh, I remember that story. I get to hear everything ahead of time.
So yeah, I guess I'm announcing that ahead of time. I don't think I've even told Patty at Fae Corps about that one, like the official decision yet. Like it's been discussed, and Jenny actually helped me make that decision a while back on to believe that the house story is like still there, but like not include them into this book. Because originally I was going to write a couple more of those out and include them here, but we were talking and we thought that there was enough stories for that to be its own thing later. But that'd be a lot of fun, and I'll probably have an actual picture of the house.
Oh, very nice.
So that's exciting.
That would be cool. Like one from your childhood. Are you gonna get?
No, it looks exactly the same. There's no difference.
Oh.
It's not been. even when they paint it, for some reason, they keep painting it the same colors, and it's just red and white brick, the whole house. Like I don't know. It's a creepy little house, man. I think I showed pictures of it to you forever ago from like Google Maps or Google View or whatever it is. But yeah, it literally looks like the same house. There's no difference. It's creepy. It's so creepy.
Nice. So, tell us about the book. I mean, yes, it's stories from your childhood, but they're not all yours though.
Right. Yeah. This is a collection of some of them happened to me, some of them didn't. Some of them happened to friends I grew up with. Some of them are a little bit more modern and happened within like the last 10 years from people I still hang out with that still live over there. Because my mom currently still lives in Riverside. Only when we only moved like from one side of Riverside to like maybe at max 10, 11 blocks away to another part of Riverside. So it's a lot of people I know and love still live over there. I still hear weird shit all the time.
Jane wants to know, do you have a favorite weird thing there in Ohio?
If I had to pick one thing that I might consider my favorite, we talked about on a previous storytelling show. One of the things that's common just about every town across America, and what I'm finding in a lot of other countries too, is a phenomenon called Crybaby Bridge. There's that one bridge. If you go in at midnight, you hear a baby crying, and there's usually a woman in white involved looking for her dead child or something like that. But most towns, not even small towns, most cities even, all across the world has this phenomenon. We have one here in a neighboring city to Riverside called Huber Heights, Ohio. That one's a little bit different. You hear the baby, but anyone can hear it. You can literally walk out there in the middle of the day. It's been caught on news cameras, all kinds of shit. Like it just randomly. And that was a tragic story because it used to be a 2-lane bridge that you could drive, on either side on. And one time late at night, a lady got, hit at an odd angle by a drunk driving this giant truck. And the woman didn't have her car seat buckled in all the way. So the baby in the car seat and the window was down, just kind of flopped off into the water. And they recovered the car seat, but they never recovered the baby. There's no woman in white there. It's literally just the baby crying. And then sometimes at night, you'll see what looks to be like a car seat with a baby actually physically crying, and this little spot down in the water. And a lot of people have committed suicide on this bridge. To be honest with you, it's a weird place. There's a lot of rituals that have happened on this bridge, and there's evidence of it. But some people have jumped in to try and save the baby, not realizing that the water looks deep. But by the time you hit it, it really barely doesn't even go to your knees in some places. So it's either broken people's legs or the fall has just killed them. It's like a siren effect. It's like the baby like gets in your head and it like lures you to save it, more or less. So it's a weird departure from the traditional, legend that everybody is aware of with Crybaby Bridge, and it's so unique. And the area over there is actually a really beautiful area. And this bridge is actually part of the bike path now. It's called Hope Bridge because it's been kind of painted and renamed, and cars can't go on anymore. But they've taken this many series of tragedies things from this bridge and kind of turned it into a positive thing. I know a couple years ago, someone did an art installation, somehow climbed to the top of the bridge, and it's an old school, like big old suspension bridge. Somehow they got all the way to the top of it. I don't know how, and they attached a swing. So for a long time, you could actually get on this art installment that was a swing like you're on a swing set, like backwards and forwards, like you should be able to, like inside the bridge. It's not a covered bridge either. It's like so you could just see everything, and it was really weird, but super, super kind of cool and interesting. So I haven't officially written a story about the bridge yet, but that's been something that's been in my head and in the works for a long time. And that little area over there is super messed up and haunted. So it's not officially Riverside, but if you're on that edge of Riverside, you can drive to it in 5-6 minutes. So it's not far.
I think that it's Riverside adjacent.
Yes.
That sounds like
yes.
it could work in there.
That's probably one of my favorite weird thing because I get a lot of inspiration if I'm not sure what to write or I'm just writer's block for too long. I will hop in a car and have somebody take me over there and just sit there at the bridge or one of the little spots over there. Because there's a lot of stories all right in that neighborhood of that bridge. Like a lot of really messed up stuff. So that was also the first area I ever did paranormal investigation in, like ever. So like there's a lot of things. The haunt that I grew up working at was right down the street from it. So, there's just so much history for me in that little area. Yeah.
Okay. That is a lot. Remind me not to go there.
Oh, I take everybody over there. I take everybody over there because even people that don't believe in anything have had experiences, or afterwards, I said, like, if you feel something, don't mention it out loud. Don't say anything. If you don't feel anything, don't say anything. And then I'm going to look at you once we leave, and you're going to tell me whether you did or didn't, and if you did, what it is. So that way me or no one else is influencing your vibes. And every person I've ever taken there has had some feeling, they've seen something that shouldn't be there, or just some overwhelming sense of I need to get the fuck out now, drive away. So it's like this weird mix of stuff, but I've never been with anyone who hasn't sensed, seen, or heard something on there.
Wow.
Like I said, it's been recorded and on the news, some of the stuff that's happened over there. Oh, and an article was written there by the Weekly World News many years ago. So it was super weird, man.
Awesome.
It's odd when you can actually go to a place where the Weekly World News has been.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been able to do that. Going through the stories, and the stories included here are Mr. Jones and Me, The Homeless Crisis, Jimmy's Toys, The Fibers, The Mirror Man, The Stars Were Wrong, The Real Pinball Wizard, A Modern Ghost Story, Dashing Story, Can You Hear the Voices, The Cabin, There's Something Different About Her, and Lost Creek. And these are all really, really awesome stories. And I know that, like, the first time I read Jimmy's Toys, that one really stuck with me. I don't know about you, James, but
I do have some comments to make, but go ahead.
It's a fabulous story for little kids, and about childhood, like growing up, and a horrible sense of the awakenedness from coming of age in a horrible fashion, kind of thing.
This is one I've never actually talked about publicly before. Like, I've never said anything about it because this is the first time it's been in print, really. Like, well, no, it was. Oh, I did a big podcast thing with it, and it was, I think, an anthology, but no one I didn't do an interview for it until I guess right now. So there's weird stuff about this one. I had just finished experiencing the R.L. Stine masterclass for how to write for middle grade horror, and I thought, I have never written middle grade horror, but I've got this kids book coming out. Like, this is the year before I even did the kids book, so it was like there was that kids book project I'm wanting to do the following year. I do normal horror. I've been doing some other genres. Let's tackle this. So I sat down, generated an idea. It took like 6 months to come up with an idea, and it's a real toy store called Johnny's Toys. This place existed with a birthday club and everything right up until you were 12. You get the little key in the mail to go and unlock the treasure chest. Every kid got a toy no matter what. But if you opened the treasure chest open with your key, that was like this special thing. Typically, the key would work when you were 12, which was the last year that you were able to go. It was this one last big magical thing that they would do, of course, before you were too old to get free toys at the toy store anymore. So that's kind of how it worked for everyone, but you never knew. Like, you grew up and no one was allowed to tell each other either, because it was like an unspoken thing back then. So every year we'd go and we'd get these toys. We wouldn't know. But this is our year, and we'd be so upset that we didn't get it, but happy. And there wasn't like a cave that you had to go through, like a lot of things that's described, but that didn't exist. No
one needs to know.
They have to read it. We want to hear James's point of views on the story too.
Okay.
So I'm like, don't tell the end of your stories.
I'm not going to tell the end of it. But I'm just
okay, Carrie, you've read my reviews on anthologies like this. I tend to give a description that doesn't really spoil things, but keeps things interesting. Mm-hmm. Let's just say. So, Mr. Jones and Me, I'm going to look past the obvious Counting Crows reference here.
That was not the original name for the story.
Okay.
The original name of the story was only Mr. Jones. And then my friend Kyle over at Right sat me down and said, Raz, you need to start writing clickbait titles for all your stories on No Sleep so people will click on them. And he was right. I did get a lot of views, but I chose to do that because it's an earworm song and it screws with people. I converted all the titles back to the original ones for the most part, except for that one, just because it makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, this Mr. Jones and Me, holy shit. So that's one hell of a way to start off an anthology. It's let's just say it's an interesting take on the boogeyman childhood fear.
Oh yeah.
So
Appreciate that, man.
now, the homeless crisis. The first four stories, I should say, I was reading in the bath last night.
Oh yeah.
So the homeless crisis. Lock your doors, people, and let's show a little bit of charity to our less fortunate people.
Yes. Yes.
Just read it, okay? And Jimmy's Toys, yes. I gotta say, how should I word this? I'm trying not to spoil things here. I've been known to spoil people.
If it helps, some of these stories have already been released in other anthologies. Like,
yeah, see,
so a lot of people have read some of them.
I did remember reading There's Something Different About Her, but
Yes.
I can't remember which anthology it was in.
Yep, that was one of our Fae Corps anthologies. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Jones previously as well. Jimmy's Toys was as well.
Okay.
Not even half of these stories were actually seen before. A lot of more newer ones that I'd never released. So, but yeah, like I'm only gonna give more information about the ones that people have, like Jimmy's, Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it pulls the fibers. I'm not going to say much of anything about that.
That's actually a story that I've been personally divided on for a long time on whether I like it or not. Like, to be
What is that?
That's not the story. That's not the original story that was written, and I had to brutally edit it to make it what it is. It went a lot farther. It was about twice the length originally, and it was so hard for people to read because of how many other things happened that I cut out. That it's very difficult. I like it still. Yeah, that was a tough one. That one has been released before. There is a way to see the original version. Very few copies exist of a book called Campire Tales, which is my first ever collection I released. And there is a version of it in there that the book's not even for sale. So there might be 15 or 20 copies of this book in the world that even exists. And no one will ever see that again unless they have happened to have got it then years ago, or you randomly find a copy somewhere. But it's brutal. There's a lot of sexual stuff in the book as well. Yeah, all that got cut out, obviously. It went pretty far, man. It went real far.
That one's very striking. That's a trigger warning one.
It is
for some folks out there, I think.
Yeah.
There's a couple of there's more than a couple of stories that you could describe as such. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're on top of
for instance, the Mirror Man. Tell me this is a true story.
Yes. Most of it. I'd say about 80% of it is entirely true. I obviously have some artistic liberties, but they are based on very real people who did some of the things that were done. I'm Seeker, if that helps you any, and I didn't actually murder a lot of people or anything, but I took place at the haunt I work for. Still. So I mean, and there's elements of like some haunt things and people that used to work there that I definitely wrote stories about. But that was this is well known publicly. That story was written about the original acting manager, who I'm not going to name because why bother? But that was our original acting manager, year one, who was the main bad guy in that one, like the truly irredeemable piece of shit. And our media manager, who was, I guess they're getting married now or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was very real people, situations, things that were actually done to people, and the very real game of haunt and seek that I invented that year that we still play to this day.
I got to hear about it while it was going on.
Yes, you did.
So
yeah.
So I'm like, yep. That part. Yeah.
That one never made it to a book before now, but it was a very publicized story at the time because of what it was and what it represented. And I was in like an urban legend series at the time, so the Mirror Man part of it kind of obviously there's a lot of mirror representations in there. But that was heavily based on just actual terrible people doing terrible things and what I would have liked to have done to solve those problems.
Okay, so the stars were wrong. I often wondered if one day one of those proprietors of the planetarium, if I'm referencing a South Park episode,
Yes.
would finally snap and then take a laser Floyd show to.
Oh yeah, over at the planetarium. So I worked at that museum. I did work in the chemistry department. Dr. Rainier was in charge of us and was a good friend of mine up until his passing. Lewis is a real person. I just reconnected with him 2 months ago, and he got to see the story for the first time. Died laughing. He still dresses like Robert Smith from The Cure to this day. And
Like
maybe I'm acted there sometimes, but obviously the rest is,
like current Robert Smith, who kind of looks like my great aunt Martha right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Keeps up with him. What's he wearing today? Oh, I need a new cardigan.
And that is also, and that planetarium is actually Riverside adjacent as well. It's about 10 minutes away from Riverside. Okay. Everything is either in or like right up near Riverside.
Now, the real pinball wizard.
That one is a beautiful story that was part of a collection I was doing with Dell, Kyle, and Grant and a bunch of other our friends there for a while. It was about this arcade that would just magically appear places. And Dell's got one a virtual reality story that she did for that one too. But this was my installment. I grew up obsessed with pinball. It was a big thing for me most of my childhood. My dad got me into it as a kid. And I was really obsessed at the time with the disease that the character Dustin from Stranger Things has.
Okay.
I was very much interested in that, learning more about it, and I gave that disease to the main character as a way to help me research, to understand the condition better. So that was my version of, loving pinball and being interested in medical things. And the movie Big, but I won't say why, but yeah.
Yeah, that ending, wow, yeah. Highly recommended you read the...
That's my big body horror story, I'd say, in that
movie. Yeah.
It's a very different level of Tom Hanks-ishness.
Yes. And it's actually only even my second favorite Tom Hanks movie. My favorite one is Joe vs. the Volcano.
Holy crap. My brain just brought that up, too. Nobody else seems to remember that movie existed. I saw it in the theater.
Me too.
And of course, my favorite part was, you want to get married? Yeah. You want to get married? Yeah. You're married. That's it.
Yep. I love that one so much.
Sounds like Cowboy Finn's restaurant at the end of the universe.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a modern ghost story.
That one was pretty.
So that I think is the most beautiful thing that I've ever written. I added things to that. In the very beginning of that story, I'm not going to say exactly what it is. Obviously, it sets the story up, like why the story exists. There's a little thing about it in there. The rest of that is actually something I wrote on the anniversary of my brother's death last year.
Okay.
And because it is a modern ghost story, he's a ghost that still exists for me for all of eternity, and everything I wrote about that is real. How I feel about it, what happened around a lot of the circumstances. I took it and I put it in this project because when I think of Riverside, that's the number one thing I think about is him. He's in a lot of those stories. If you ever see Ryan, Edward, Reggie, any of those names, or Riker, those are all him. So he's in that collection quite a bit in a lot of other ways. But I wanted to do something and make the experience that I had. And I guess that's a little bit more of the speculative fiction side of horror for that particular one. Like, because a lot of people carry their ghosts around, and I think so many people don't understand what horror is, that what I wanted to do with this collection is I wanted every story to be a different kind of horror, a different subgenre, a different vibe. A lot of people say, hey, I don't know anything about horror, so I don't write it. And I say, but you live it every day. You don't understand how that correlates. And that was my big struggle here. And I wanted something heartfelt, like truly like deep in the feels kind of horror that was more of a thinker than it was a visceral kind of horror.
Yeah.
And I went back and grabbed that when I was looking for stuff, and I was like, this is the one. And I just made a few very minor alterations for that one. Okay.
So I want to interject here that I read your book, this collection here, right after coming off of reading Ramsey Campbell's novella Meeting Ghosts, which is,
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's quite the British mindfuck. I'll just call it that.
I've not read it, but it is on my list.
I
Okay.
just read some Ramsey last night.
Okay.
Different book, but yeah.
It's in the Mammoth Book of Nightmares. So if you come across that, take a look. So moving on here with the list. I hope I'm doing an okay co-hosting thing here.
Yes.
Yeah, you got this, man.
All right, groovy.
Yeah.
So, Dashing Story.
So that one does have an actual title. You have the last PDF that I was using because, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If I sent you, it has an actual name. It's Dashing from Death.
Okay.
It's officially called, and the version that I think Dell has, and the one you probably have somewhere, or will have today, and the one that we're giving out later on. But yeah, Dashing from Death.
Okay.
We do a lot of door dashing, Amazon delivery, things like that here in my family, and we deliver to weird places. I've told some stories about this before. I once had to deliver a package that I was certain was a book. You can tell it was a hardback book to a specific plot at a graveyard, and right as the graveyard was closing, so it was getting dark, and a storm was moving in. And I called the Amazon rep, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm in a graveyard at an actual gravestone that has the numbers on this package, and there's a book. And I know the most popular book right now is it was a Stephen King collection. Bizarre Bad Dreams was literally when it was selling everywhere on Amazon, and I had delivered at least 20 of them that day because people will get so excited they open their boxes. It was the same exact box, same exact weight, everything is all the other ones I delivered. So that's probably what it was. And he's like, "Yeah, I can't have you leave that on a gravestone, man." So obviously we didn't. We had to take it back to the warehouse and everything. And then another one where we had delivered to the middle of this neighborhood where we deliver all the time. But there was no house in this lot. But the address was creepily written over a sewer grate. So needless to say, that did not get delivered either because I told them on the phone that I'm not getting jerked into the sewer by Pennywise. So you might want to
say all the damn clowns are more. They're like, "Give me my fucking book."
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, when I called to report that location, it was the same guy that had helped me during the graveyard who didn't believe me until he looked at GPS both times. He was like, "How do you keep getting this shit?" So it was a combination of those things that kept happening, and then we have to deliver weird places as a dasher, like food-wise and groceries now. So it was just sort of this fun story I wanted to do, and it originally was a little over double that length because in the original version in that book that it's impossible to find now, it went. This is actually in an anthology. I'm sorry, it's not in that one. It is in a different anthology that you can pick up. But I wanted to honor that anthology because if something appeared in an anthology previously, I did change it in some ways. But that one was in Horror for Hire Second Shift. And that's the long version in that one where the cultists follow them home and they enter their home. There's like a home invasion type scenario. And it's also a lot longer and intense. But I always felt that I took it too far, that I went way above beyond where the story should have stopped. I was early in my writing career and my knowledge as a writer. So this was my chance to end it where I thought it always should have ended and have a different ending. So I did get a chance to do that and write some old school wrongs from my writing career.
And besides, you already kind of had that home invasion thing with the homeless crisis.
Exactly. And that,
So,
I always felt that was done so much better anyway.
So, next one up is I feel like I'm doing my radio show. Next one up in the therapy, we have Can You Hear the Voices?
Yeah.
Which every time I hear that title, for those of you who played Warhammer 40K, the old RTS game with the Chaos Legion, can you hear the voices too? What always comes up in my head.
This
So,
is
just wanted to say
an interesting one for me because when I originally wrote this story, and it was for that original anthology that I wrote many years ago, for sure. It had also a lot of different implications that I had to tone down a lot. This was a story about spirits getting their revenge on actually a child molester. That was the original setup for the story. That's what it was. This one I changed it to what, and this is one of the known stories. So for those of you that haven't heard this version of it, It actually I changed it to a child murderer instead because that seemed a little bit easier to discuss and kind of go into. This was mostly just based on my friend that I now live with that used to work in a mental institution, and a crazy thing that used to happen. They're like, he was my security guard there. So this was a lot of like his perspective on patients and weird things that always happen, and me just sitting down and going, okay, so what if this happened? And it's also the very first story that was ever purchased from me directly from the No Sleep subreddit. And it was performed and narrated, and you can still see this, listen to this on my website at rastyslasher.com. Super famous narrator. So that was the first story that I ever officially sold as a standalone story for podcast that opened up all the doors that led to all the shit I do now. So like, that's a super special one that I needed to put in this one. I really needed to put it in.
I really, really do like the ending to this story. It seems to be a little more. The word escapes me now. Crap. Go ahead and say something, Carrie.
Okay, well, Jenny says, I love that story. It reminds me of my passing residence at the nursing home, the hearing voices no one can hear part that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something common that I found out when Papa was on hospice and staying at home. We had home health care coming in, and he was pretty much okay. Like he kept it together until the last minute, literally.
Yep.
He had a bit of dementia, but he'd forget things. But the house, my mom's house, people already know, is pretty active with spirit related things going on there. And it had gotten to the point, like, we had an aide that would come in once a week so that I could have a day off. And like, she'd hear stuff. Papa was hard of hearing, so he didn't hear most of the stuff, but they both would hear like somebody walking, like grandma's walker, when he had it near his chair, opening up one door. You could hear the walker go over and then open the door to the bathroom and then go back to the other room, and the doors opening and closing and stuff. And the home health care nurse who spent time over there was, just to check on him and stuff, was like, oh yeah, we hear stuff at people's houses all the time. When we go over, when we have people that are on hospice, it is just known. Like, nobody thinks any, like, people, we talk about it. Nobody thinks any less or thinks somebody's crazy because they're hearing things. It's just happening, and it's accepted. So
yeah, definitely.
All right.
that's right.
So,
James, did you think of your word, or are we going
no,
on?
I didn't. I'm old. Anyway.
Words are hard.
Word hard. Okay, so The Cabin, another story I really like the ending to. And it's kind of harrowing. It seems to be a nice tribute to our soldiers who come back changed.
That was based on a really good friend of mine that I grew up with, who I still talk to from time to time, and a lot of the struggles that he personally had, based on personal interviews and his permission to write about it, and how he kind of coped with it. Because he, again, I'm not going to say his name or anything, but he actually got into podcasting years ago to kind of help him. And it's one of the things that convinced me to get into it as well for my own personal mental health reasons. But it's kind of how he survived everything. And this cabin that the story is about, I've stayed there overnight before several times. It's a really interesting cabin here in Ohio where a lot of weird things happen in general. Not the one I was in.
I was just going to ask.
That Del tells us. It was a different one, but it's a very known cabin in a very high cryptid based area. So it actually looks exactly how I describe it. Like, you could go there today and see my name written in the guest book with a little message from me if you can find this cabin. I have a little like, hello, if you're here, then you're reading the last words I ever wrote, because when I stay at cabins, I write weird, inappropriate things in the book.
Send help and maybe a pizza.
Right. So that was a fun little thing I do at cabins. It's fun. But like that particular one, I wrote that, and if you go to it, you'll know. If you've read the story and you find this cabin, you'll know, because it's exactly like the exact description.
For some reason, when you say that, it reminds me of way back in the day when we'd get the individual pieces. I guess they were about this big of Bazooka Joe bubble gum, and you could break it off in little strips. And they had the messages in there, and they would be, "Please help! I'm stuck in a gum factory."
Yes.
And I guess you get it now too with fortune cookies, like help, I'm stuck in a fortune cookie factory or something.
It's something that kind of vibe, honestly. It's definitely that kind of vibe.
Well, a little bit more serious.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to like my friend's life and the things that he went through, obviously I didn't put that part in the story, but I really wanted to capture what that was like in a way where people can maybe understand it a little bit better. And I'm having fun. I'm reading this, speculative fiction horror story, but I just learned something about what it's like to go through the military and get PTSD and see how I'm treated when I get home, kind of a thing. And that's out there in some ways. I just wanted to make it a lot more personal.
And people, I see that there are more of you in here that are talking on the comments. Drop a hi, just say what's going on, because you get a chance to, you don't get a chance to win if you don't comment. And you want to win a copy of this book and the chance to maybe create a character with Raz and kill off somebody you don't like or yourself. So make sure you're commenting. All right? I want the comments up there.
You can do it. I just realized this whole time that I'm really echoey because I forgot to hit the right button on my board. So that probably sounds a lot better now.
That might be you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I had some weird echoey thing going on until just now.
East Coast Hunter says when people are in hospice, ghosted loved ones come to get their family member ready to cross. Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Absolutely. Tom, happy Sunday. Good to see you.
And if I didn't say it already, hello to East Coast Hunters, because I think I forgot to say hello when you came in. So, what's up?
All right.
Tom here.
So, just moving along. Don't mean to be the dick here, but there's something. There's something different about her. Like I said, that was the one that I remember reading in another collection. Still, kind of freaks me out to this day.
I'm trying to now remember. Jenny is a much better for remembering specifics, but that wasn't a Fae Corps anthology, 100%. It's the only place it's ever been printed, and I can't remember which. I remember for sure several that it wasn't in, but it was in one of
Nightmare Whispers. It was one of those.
Oh yeah, because I did volume 1 and 3, and I did that one, and the one about it was a Fae Red Cap story that I did.
The Nightmare Machine, was it?
Nightmare Whispers.
Oh no, Nightmare Machine was by somebody totally else that we both know though.
Somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We aren't going to throw their name out there because we don't have their permission. So
that one's got a funny story to it. I mean, the story itself is what it is. It's a traditional story. I wanted to do a different kind of monster story with that one, and that one is that's not. A lot of people think it's Skinwalker, but it's actually a mimic, which is a completely different, but similar creature, also known as a Fleshgate. It's very similar to it. But yeah, Skinwalkers and Fleshgates is a fascination of mine. In general, all those things are.
I should post that for longer because I forget that other people don't read as fast as I just like zoom. Okay.
Yes.
But
yes, he does.
We were doing Nadine. We were doing an anthology TV show that we got greenlit based on that Campfire Tales book I was telling you about that no longer truly exists. And the last project that I ever worked on with my best friend, who was my original editor for a lot of my projects, you can see him in the Mime movie as the mayor / homeless guy, Bill. He was murdered several months after the filming of that when we had started editing the first episode, which is why the TV show never happened. And one of the reasons why I pulled that book down and kind of stopped selling it, because I was actually acting in that episode. I was the main character, and my wife Michelle was the wife in the story. So like, there's a lot of things behind that, but it's still a very good story, and I still really enjoy this story. And I've been secretly working on a sequel based on how that one ends, involving a family trip in a car. And the premise in that one is every time they get out to stop somewhere, another person in the car when they get back in starts acting different. Until the guy is now trapped alone with the whole car of his family, of everyone suddenly acting different, and he realizes what's happening. I do very, very few sequels to stories, and that's one that I've been thinking a lot about. And if there's ever another volume to the more lore stories, yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to end up, because it's very Lovecraftian in nature, the new version.
And last but not least, Lost Creek. This one sounds familiar. No reference to Little Caesars in this one, man.
Yeah, that one is a known one. It's made its way. A couple different versions of this story exists. One in the Campfire edition of Scary Snippets with my amazing friend Natalie Brown. She got that one together. There's also a version of it, a different version of it, in one of the Fae Corps anthologies. And this version is also different because I shifted the ending up a little bit more in favor of what, again, I'd always wanted to do. Because I wrote this story originally as a long form story that I had to shorten and butcher in order to meet the word count for snippets. So that's its own version of the story, which is also very good. And then I had to take the story I'd previously written and rewrite for a school project. So I did that, and that's the version that ended up in with Fae Corps. And then I got a chance to again revise it, and it's one of my favorite endings. I think to a story that I've written. The very, very ending of it. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you guys have read it. It is a very personal, kind of a weird way to continue that. And that was another mimic story. Yeah, so there was more than one mimic story in there. It's probably the only thing I doubled on, like truly doubled on, but I did them in different styles just to kind of make myself feel better about having two of the same subjects in there. But that campsite exists, and a local campsite exactly the way I described it, on top of the dry riverbed and everything. And it's another one of those that if you find that campsite here in Ohio, and it's very close to where I live now, you'll know it immediately. Like you will just know it immediately by the description.
All right,
and
we
not
got
that
more
I'm planning on camping anytime soon.
Well, I mean,
No.
we can put a whole survival kit in your foot, man. Like I'm talking like match holders, about knives.
Yeah, except that with my condition, I would be the one that you guys would push down to get away while they all
Nah,
descend
man.
on my
No,
succulent
I can't
corpse.
walk any faster than you can normally.
Couch machete.
Anyway. So we're going to
I'm protecting you.
Yeah, we'll trip the faster people as they go by. Like we'll just stroll our way into the sunset. That's my plan.
Jogger, huh? Drip. Push.
Oh yeah, run
Fast
now.
food.
All right, once again, folks, I see more of you online than are commenting. Give me some comments. We have prizes to give out, and I need to fill up the prizes.
I just thought of something.
Ask a question. Ask us, what the hell did you think you were doing with this? Or what's going on in Pitch Witch? Or, hey, what does your hat say? You know, things like that.
Yeah.
If you were a tree, what tree would you be?
I would be teak. I've considered this quite a bit before. The first dog I ever owned was named Teak, and then I found out he was named after my father's favorite wood, because it was the first woodworking project he ever had. And there was also a big joke about it in John Carpenter's Vampires, when he goes through the whole list of things and he gets to teak, and then he doesn't have a quick comeback about teak, but he does all the other wood. So teak.
I'm sorry, we were looking for Weeping Willow.
Oh, Teak was also
Willow.
the name of the dog in one of
actually
the
mine.
movies. I do love Weeping Willows. That'd be my second.
Yep, mine too. I don't know why.
I like the whole vibe. The whole vibe the tree gives off.
When I was growing up, before we moved out to the acreage, there were 2 trees in the yard of the place that we lived on this hill on Elm Street. Yes, I lived on Elm Street, the Halloween girl that led up to the graveyard at the top of it in Hooper. You know what I'm talking about, right? The one main street up, and yeah, you end up at this graveyard. But I lived there, and we had in the backyard 2 cool trees, and one of them was right up there. Was a lady who kept a horse, and so she had this electric fence holding in where she kept 2 horses up there. And one was a weeping willow that was there, and I would sit inside of it and read my books underneath all of the branches. It was a very young one, and I could braid the vines and stuff, and so that was fun. And then there was a sugar maple as well, and my mom loves sugar maples. And there is a sad time of life going on and a bunch of changes happening in our lives, and she was out mowing and got stung by a bee or a wasp while she was doing so, and it scared her, and she mowed over. It was a sapling still, kind of like only a couple of feet tall, so probably about like that big in circumference or whatever for the trunk. and she mowed over it, and she was bawling her eyes out. And I didn't realize that it was because not just of the tree, but it was like she got stung. She had all this life stuff going on, and she was just crying with her bed. So I went and I got like some string and some tape and everything. And I really thought I could fix it. I spent forever. Like, I think my little sister was helping. We like got that thing all taped back together and tied up and stuff. And I came in and I was just like, we fixed the sugar maple. You don't have to cry. We fixed your tree. And then that just is just like, the kids are trying. Yeah. So that's my tree story with like mom crying over the tree. So sad.
That is sad, man. That is really sad, actually.
Yeah.
One of my favorite miniseries of all time that no one ever talks about, but you and I, The Lost Room. I actually have a 3-minute copy of that I randomly go back and watch a couple times a year because
I own it.
Fascinated. I'm fascinated by the way they did that project. It reminded me a lot of the Friday the 13th the series with the haunted objects in the pawn shop.
I love that series. Oh my
me
god.
too. That's one of the reasons that got me into Lost Room so much.
Did you watch Friday the 13th the series when you were growing up?
When I could. When they allowed me to stay up late.
I watched it at grandma's.
Yeah, same here. That and you remember that Friday the 13th? Yeah, that had nothing to do with Jason.
Yeah. It was just a haunted pawn shop that people would ditch items at. It was all cursed items. And they're supposed to be collecting the cursed items, but they would somehow get out. Which later they did. Poltergeist: The Legacy had some stuff with that. Warehouse 13.
Yes.
Super cool idea though, but yeah, Lost Room is a personal favorite of mine. I like the watch that you can just put an egg on and it automatically boils the egg. The bus pass that takes you to hell, which is just actually somewhere.
Oh yes, you're going to hell. Welcome to hell. The actor who played that guy, I can't remember his name offhand, but he was one of my favorites. All right, we getting more people. Comment.
That key has made its way into many D&D games that I've ran and other worlds, like a version of it.
I have various. I have an entire D&D campaign that's based around the objects, but they aren't those. They're all different ones.
Yeah. I had one.
Things, I had one where it was like if you use the dagger, you might accidentally you get transported somewhere. Unfortunately, it doesn't take some of the things into like you might end up in a wall.
Yeah, and
you die. It didn't. It wasn't a friendly. It was one where you had to use them smartly. But so we have covered now everything that's been going on with the Riverside Chronicles. I want to pull up some more stuff that you have done. Hold on.
Are they things that I remember that I've done? Is the question?
Yes, these are things that I checked when I put them up. First, we're gonna. Do you want to do Lincoln?
Oh yeah. We can talk about Lincoln for a minute. Sure, yeah.
Okay. This is the second most recent, isn't it?
Well, if you consider that this one isn't officially released until next Friday, it's my most recent release.
Okay. Right. So we have Lincoln's Halloween Adventure, which is Braz's first children's book.
Yeah. I do want to mention it cuts off a little bit. It was illustrated by Stu Brown, a very amazing friend of mine, just an amazing human being that's got children of his own. They're about the age that the younger ones. The book was also partially done for. So this was a really fun project for both of us. The weirdest thing about this is I always promised my sister's 3 kids that if when they got older and they actually had kids, I'd do something special for them. The day that I wrote the first paragraph or the first page, I guess, the first full page was the day my great nephew Lincoln was born. So that's where the name comes from. I hand delivered a copy, with a write up in there about why it was important and thank you and blah 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 blah. Heartfelt stuff that I'm not going to repeat now. It was the very first printing. The very first copy of the very first printing went directly to my niece Lily for Lincoln. So it's for Lincoln. It's also for Stu's amazing kids. And it's for a little boy named Chase that I work with at the haunt, who's Lincoln's age, Lincoln in the book's age. He loves Halloween. He loves the haunt, but he's terrified of the dark. He's afraid of the plastic or the rubber snakes. He's afraid of everything, but he wants to be there and wants to help so bad. He's just so afraid. And I thought, how could I help a kid just like that? Get over their fear and realize that a lot of the things they're afraid of are also afraid of them too. And so this was my book. This was my chance to show kids that, that it's okay to be different and weird. It's okay to love creepy things and be afraid of them. So Lincoln has to meet and have conversations and join forces with the monster in his bed and the monster in his closet, who are best friends, the snake that lives in the basement, and the ghost girl that lives with the attic. And by meeting each one of them, they're all conquering their fears together, because he meets the monsters and they tell him that they've been afraid of him, but Lincoln and the monsters are afraid of what's in the basement. The snake is afraid of them and the thing in the attic. So it's like a fetch quest where you're trying to get help decorating and getting over your fears. But the whole time he's also using objects from his family to help him and his new friends be brave enough to meet the new friends. There's like the flashlight his father gave him, the mask his mother made him, the toy sword that his brother gave him. There's all these little things that not only talks about conquering your fears, but how it's a good thing to lean on the people that love you, the people in your community or your home, to give you that strength. It was a fun project, man. I didn't want to beat the morals over the head, so I didn't. I just wrote a story. I knew what it was about. You get the vibe of what it's about, but it doesn't have this moral for a kid that a parent hates after reading it for the 100th time. And that was the big thing. Like, I learned that you market a lot to the parents when you're writing kids' books, because if a kid likes your book, they're gonna accidentally lose it on the family vacation if they're tired of hearing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can't treat the kids like idiots, but you got to give a good, because they get insulted eating, they get insulted at that age, and the parent, if they feel like their kid is being talked down to, they get upset. So there's a lot to learn. I taught myself everything I needed to know about writing kids' picture books in about 3 months, and then I wrote it.
And then I'm gonna bring up.
And the sequel comes out this Christmas. It's and I mentioned this on a previous show. It's Lincoln and his friends meet Krampus. It's going to be an actual holiday themed one for Christmas.
Nice. I'm gonna jump back a little bit then and go to Silence is Crimson. You can kind of see part of it right in here, but if you notice the mime
the bottom right corner,
one thing, yeah,
that's
see that.
That's me playing the mime for the original film version of the book, which the original book was just called The Mime. I had a lot of problems, man. Hit some publishers that kind of led me down some weird paths, didn't work out. One that kind of held it hostage for a while, one where money went missing, and another one that just didn't have the time like they thought they would have. So, it's what it is. And then I went to self-publishing and got frustrated. And then that's when I got with Patty and this with Fae Corps, and that was the first big project I put out. But yeah, I played the character in the movie, the mime, so that was a lot of fun. I was one of many people that did the voice in that movie for that character. This is at its core not what it appears to be. When you read it, it looks and feels like a comedy horror, not horror comedy. If you don't know the difference, look it up. There's a difference. It's a comedy horror retro slasher throwback is what it feels like. It's a lot of fun. It's a good project. It's got a solid story. It's the first part of a trilogy. But it may shock many people to know that what this book is actually about is me coping with the suicide of my brother, who had multiple personality disorder and possibly schizophrenia. The entire character of the guy getting possessed to become the killer mime by the Lovecraftian creature is his version of what he thought schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder was for him, based on a conversation we had the day before, or hours before he died. So, like, that's the whole project. It's literally my way of dealing with that and how he dealt with it. So,
and
it's a weird project. It's a good one. It's therapeutic. It's hard to write, which is why it's been taking so long to get the other parts done, to be honest with you. But part 2 comes out this year. It's almost done being written. Yeah, here we go. Sounds Homecoming
coming up. I really liked Silence is Crimson because it like you're saying, it when you're reading it, it feels like you're watching a horror movie, which is different. Yeah. I mean, like, you can read a horror novel and be like, oh, this would make a great movie. But as you're reading this, it feels like you are watching the movie.
Yeah.
But it has the added little bit of you get to see inside people's heads. So you know what people are thinking, and you know what the monster's thinking. Or you get to figure out, like, well, how did it get from there to
yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
So you aren't sitting here just
wondering.
The slasher just shows up in the middle of the woods somewhere for no reason. It's all This is very detailed, and that level of the sewer system is legitimately all beneath Dayton and Riverside. So those are actual real tunnels that exist. You can't walk them without permission, but there was actually a part of our city during the Great Flood, which also is a main point throughout this whole trilogy. Back in the 1920s, this Great Flood actually took some of our city down below the ground, and there are parts of our old city that are still completely below ground that you're not supposed to be able to get to. But I have actually been down a lot of different parts of it. So if you are one of the lucky odd people that like that kind of thing, and you've gotten permission, you would know where the book takes place in those sections, because again, you would see them and you would know.
Raz, you trespassed in
No, I actually had
scary
permission.
territory?
I actually had permission for that. No, yeah. So when I was a dumbass little kid, we used to break into haunted places all the time. But once I started getting older, above 18, I started realizing, I love this and I'd like to do it forever. So I better start making friends with the right people and getting permission to do things. That way I get invited to do more cool things. So any of these places after 18 were all places that I've had permission to be in, like with either the local police, the mayor of a small town, whoever I needed to talk to, basically, to get into it.
Not getting tetanus.
Yeah. Not that I haven't done that too many times in general. But yeah, it's just a very odd book. And it was, whereas Mr. Jones was the first professional short story I ever wrote, this was the first professional novel I ever wrote. And this version of it is the one I'm actually happy with. There was a lot of problems with the other versions. Again, different levels of skill and knowledge about writing. And getting with Patty was like a rebirth of this project, which I was thinking about axing forever. So getting a chance to retool it, change the name, and Silence is Crimson was the tagline we actually used for the movie. It was a hilarious play on words. It was just a tagline. And the more I thought about that tagline, the more I thought comedy, horror, the whole thing kind of plays into the mime. Even the book trailer that we use as an ad sometimes that I made for that took actual scenes from the original movie, and I just had fun with it. And that's what the project is.
Yeah, look up Raz's IMDb page. You can find the mime. It's out there still.
You can just type it into Amazon and buy the movie. It's not a great movie. It is. We were talking about this the other day. That movie's cursed. Okay, I told you about my friend Bill that had gotten murdered.
Yeah.
That was the last full giant project. Like we released 2 movies at the same time. A movie of his called Berry Tales, and then that. Literally within the same couple of weeks to each other. And those were the last 2 giant projects we did together. But so he isn't with us any longer. 2 other people passed away. One shortly after the making of the movie, when it was still being edited. Divorces happened during and after this project. There was a major house fire with my buddy Dan. He was our DP, and he lost over half the footage for the whole project. So what you see is what remained of the labor of love that we all had for 2 years making this project. And we had all worked for other people, but never once had we all worked for ourselves. And that was the project we all decided, screw all the drama. We're going to make our own thing. And a lot of us that are still around have our own companies now doing our own thing, and we've done really well. But so many bad things happened during the making of that. We thought we have to finish it for everybody. We have to finish this and get it out there. And also, every time I get money from that, 50% of all the proceeds go to the American Cancer Society, because we chose that when we came up, wanting to do a movie version of it, which originally the book and movie was released on the same day too. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, so that was the charity we picked. And anytime any remainders of that group have ever done a project together, we always pick a charity and we always get proceeds to that charity. So I still keep up my end with that, even though it's been like 7, probably 8 years since that movie came out. Anytime someone picks it up, I still send money.
That's awesome. Very cool that you still do that for people.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of when you make a promise, you keep it, no matter how long that promise lasts.
I'm running out of things to ask Raz because he's my brother, basically.
Somebody, I saw a comment flash up. I can't remember who it was, but it said, "Don't forget to mention your stage 32 profile."
I have a stage 32 profile. Whoa! I bet you someone made that for me on a movie that I was in like a long time ago or something. If that happens a lot. Like my original IMDb, I didn't make that. Like I was doing some projects and they made it because I didn't have a profile. So someone there just made it. I'm gonna guess for that. I'm looking myself up on stage 32 right now.
Jenny knows more about Raz than he does. She keeps pulling up. Oh, and then you ran this. You had this. You did this. I did.
I'm literally going to stage 32 right now. Apparently.
Well, there you go. I don't even know what
That's
stage
cool.
32 is. So.
It's an industry thing, like a
Okay.
like a video industry type of thing, if I recall correctly. But yeah, she put up an interview that I forgot that I was in the other day, which was totally interesting. Oh yeah, I see it right here. That's interesting. Oh, it's got a picture of like, wow, there's like really personal pictures on here of like my family members and stuff too. Me and Kane Hodder hanging out. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here. Yeah, I had no idea that this existed. That's fun.
Yay!
If you do go to it, it's interesting because the guy sticking his tongue out with a green shirt on, that was my brother. And the picture next to it is him playing guitar, which is so weird that that's even there. Like, yeah, that's my ex-wife is on this page. Me and like Tom Savini and all kinds of other people.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Savini's cool.
I haven't seen that picture in forever. Oh, if you're a big fan of Blood Species, me and the guy that played Redu are hanging out in a picture. Me and Captain Spaulding himself are hanging out. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff on here. Yeah.
Tonight's show.
That's a memory lane. That's an old school memory lane pictures right there.
Goes, oh my god. I had no idea.
Thank you for that one, Jenny. That was really cool. No, there's stuff. I mean, new stuff pop up like that from you randomly because I don't talk. I mean, I talk about some stuff, but I mean, I hang out with a lot of people. I do a lot of projects. I don't even charge money. I don't think I've even been paid for any of the movies that I've done, to be honest with you, because it's all been really cool people, cool experiences. And if you know me, you know my mantra is making cool things with cool people. That's my life's everything. Whether it's podcasting, movies, music, I mean, so I sign on as a favor to do all these projects, and I get to know so many people. And then next thing I know, I'll go to a con, and like 20 people rush me who I've never seen before that somehow know all about me because I did a favor for a really good friend of theirs, or something. So it's like a cool goodwill thing that I don't do on purpose at all. I just like doing it and doing fun things. And so I get people that make these profiles. I've seen fan sites that were dedicated to me, like on a very indie level, obviously, that totally tripped me out because they were my number one fans, and I didn't even know who they were, which I felt bad about. But like, then met them later at cons, and and we're friends. And these are people that I talk to randomly on like Facebook and social medias and stuff. Or when I make my triumphant return to cons, I'll probably see them again. The weirdest one was there was a woman I talked to for a short amount of time. She was in the horror industry. I can't remember her name offhand. I'll remember it at some point in time. It was an offshoot of the Gore Girls. There's all the different, girl, like, it's like the hot girls, with the big breasts that are all goth and covered in blood, and they do all the horror.
The Suicide Girls?
That's one of them, yeah. There was the Suicide Girls. There was the Gorgeous Girls, and it was an offshoot of the Gorgeous Girls. They had a male version of it. I was featured in that for a whole month, like 8 years ago, and had no idea until just a couple years ago. I had no idea that I was even in it. I didn't know it was a thing. Wow. That was probably the weirdest random thing I've found of myself, and I had no idea where those pictures came from or anything. And I was just like, okay.
Somebody's sneaking around following you with the camera.
I mean, it was very flattering. I think I have no opinion of myself or my appearance at all. I don't have an opinion. So it was so weird to see that there. Like, really, it tripped me out a little bit, man. I'll get sent like articles from movies that I did, or interviews that I don't even remember doing. Jenny found one that I did on a red carpet for a project. I didn't even remember that I'd done that until I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah. So it's kind of cool to randomly get shown things about myself that I didn't know existed, or things I'd forgotten about. It's fun because I've got eidetic memory, but I've got brain damage, so I don't know what I know until something triggers it. And so I'm seeing these things pop up, and then like every picture in that stage 32 thing was a whole. I'm still getting memory floods like as we speak right now of all the things that happened around those pictures and events. So it's actually really cool for me. I feel like I left my mark somewhere in the world. It makes me feel like people know who I am, whether I know them or not. To this day, sometimes I'll be driving around my hometown, and I will still hear someone playing the album that my big band that I toured with for 10 years did and sold copies of. Like, I will hear songs from the album being played locally, and I'm like, I walked up, this was about 6 months ago. I don't remember where I was, but it was in a parking lot at a Speedway somewhere. And I heard one of my, and it was obviously our song. And I went over and knocked on the window of the car. I'm like, they rolled down. I was like, hey, what's up? I was like, hey, is that the band Freak you're listening to? FREQ? Yeah. You know who that lead singer is, right? Like, yeah, Raz. I was like, that's me, dude. And they'll stop, they'll flip it open and look at the artwork and go, holy shit. I'm like, thanks for listening. And I just walk off and get the car. But that happens about once a year. So at worst case, every other year. And I was in my late teens, early 20s when that started. And, it's crazy when I run across stuff like that. It's weird because you think that, no one knows who you are. You're out there. The projects that you do are so tiny that they don't matter. But then these people will just randomly remember shit. And it makes you think, maybe I did do something with my life. It doesn't feel like it, but maybe I did do something with my life a little bit.
I think, yeah. James will be with me here. You remember Nail?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nail and
Misappropriated Youth.
Misappropriated Youth, and there were a couple of other ones. They were Fremont, Nebraska has like the rotating garage band thing going on. There's like 15 people that are talented in music, and so they just keep making bands with each other in different combinations. And rotating through.
I was in bands before Freak.
I was never in a band. However, I used to work with people who were in bands. Like I was playing, working at Jimmy John's with the bass player for, I believe it was, the name was Vaccine with 3 X's in there for whatever reason. Then he started playing. Then he started playing with another metal band out of Omaha. I forget the name of the band, but I was talking with him one night and asked him, "So, what kind of music do you guys play?" And he hit me with that really cheesy. Our music is uniquely undescribable.
We talked about this. Yeah.
This was like the mid-aughts, and I'm like, so it's like metalcore, I'm guessing. He's like, no, quit trying to put us in a box. And that's the point where I go, yes, it is metalcore. I nailed it. So he gave me a copy of the demo, and it was exactly just like, As I Lay Dying, Devil Wears Prada, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I'm like, look, it's fine to have inspiration. It's fine to have a genre. Don't be a dick about, I have friends who are beer snobs, and you can't just say, what are you drinking? Drinking beer? No, they have to have like the entire, resume of the beer.
Too, yeah.
Right.
I think every band that thinks highly of themselves wants to think that they're unique and there's nothing like them, but the fact is, every note has been played, man. Every style of music pretty much has come out there. It's just about how we arrange those notes and arrange those things to make them our own. And it's been that way for, centuries at this point. So when we started, even, with Freak, we were like, oh, well, we're unlike anything. And we'd be like, well, that's not actually true. Because if you were to combine grunge, blues, and metal all together, that's what we sounded like. And we found out the term for that at the time from a record producer was postmodern grunge. With metal...
Sure.
It was postmodern grunge with metal influences is what we ended up being labeled. And then other people called us a South Park metal band, which apparently was a very small subgenre of music in the late 90s and early 2000s. It was called South Park metal. I'd never heard it coined. And then after I heard it, I read about it in a magazine that did an article on us and actually put pictures of us next to a picture of the 4 boys at the bus stop on South Park. I was like, huh. Because we actually have, and this album exists in its entirety on YouTube. And oh my god, what's that music place, everybody? Spotify. It's on there too. We had comedy skits between every song. So like I guess I could kind of see because we did some comedy, we played music. But that was a really weird phase because that band was a lot of our members didn't get along sometimes. There's only 4 of us, and some of us didn't get along with the rest of us sometimes. While me and another person were just kind of like, okay, and we just smoked more weed. So we toured. We went far and wide with that album. Festivals opened up for some of the most amazing musical acts ever. But I would say out of everything we ever did and opened for, Chris Cornell's second solo album, I got to open for Chris, and it was a big surprise for me. And we weren't allowed to know who we were opening for until we got there. And I got to see him on a stage with acoustic do a 2-hour set. And got to hang out with him for almost 3 hours on the curb, sitting on the curb out in front of the bar for almost 3 hours afterwards, smoking and drinking, just talking.
Oh goodness.
And that was probably, and I said I opened for so many people: Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, all who I'd met many times. Well, Manson I'd met many times. I got a chance to have my sound ran by Trent Reznor once. I mean, all these just amazing musical experiences. But Chris was it for me, man. Chris was the thing that stuck with me forever because my favorite band is Soundgarden. More so, I mean, it's more so Soundgarden as an entirety. And the day that I was finally able to go see Soundgarden, this big outdoor musical festival, the Wednesday night, it was like a night or two before we were scheduled to leave to go down for it, was when Chris Cornell died. So that was my chance to see Soundgarden. He'd passed away, and everybody, that whole show, every band, even Metallica, Bush, Offspring, every band did a Chris song. And I hadn't talked to him, so Eddie Vedder actually came down with the rest of. Well, if you guys don't know this, every musician except for Chris was the touring band for Pearl Jam for many years, and still is now. So it wasn't hard to get Eddie to come down, and they did a kind of a remix version of Hungry.
Hunger Strike.
And yeah, Hunger Strike. Yeah. My brain is wonky right now, and we all sat there and lit lighters and cried for the entirety of the song, and then we picked ourselves back up, and so it was a weird thing for me, having this personal experience with this man and being influenced in my whole life, to finally getting to see him play with the actual band that I loved, and then not getting to see it ever. It was really weird, man. It's trippy.
And you know what? You bringing that up then made me think, and I'd mentioned this before on something else. So I've been on a lot of different shows lately.
I know you have. I know.
I'm kind of like, I've been a guest host on this is nice. But David Draymond, the lead singer for Disturbed, and James, you're the one who notified me of this, and then I looked further into it. He has written, I've seen him live a couple of times, and he has a song called Reason to Fight, and he wrote it because of Chris Cornell and a bunch of the other suicides that we've had, and addiction and depression. And like a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I think was all it's been, he announced on stage that he's just had a lot of stuff going on, but he was like, I almost joined him 3 months ago, because even though he's the one that we're all like, you're the one who's keeping people together.
And you're the one that survived so far.
Yeah, you're the one that made it and are inspiring the rest of us to keep it going. It's just hard. And that's something I'm bringing up kind of because we do we have been doing, and we will be continuing doing some sort of buddy check with the Outlight. We want to make sure everybody's doing good. But that totally different thing. But which one of you two told me, or was it somebody else, that Primus did the South Park song? And I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought it was common knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, they do. Primus has done it always. They go back in the studio, and there's been like 3 or 4 different versions of the song, and every time there's a slightly different version, they come back into the studio and they re-record the song. And sometimes they do random voices.
You reminded me of that when you said that you were like a Primus fan, and I'm like, oh yeah, somebody just told me about that. I think it was you.
I got into Primus originally because of Beavis and Butthead, and then I got into Primus, and then they did the theme song for South Park, and I was just finished being sold by that point. I was like, okay. Yep.
I love teaching my bass player friends and being like, can you play Tommy the Cat for me? They're like, no.
Talking about that, then you talked about Buddy Chat again, because the ad that we play for Buddy Chat, the song in the background is actually me singing. That's my old band Freak. It's a song called Self. And the song and the lyrics are actually pretty beautiful. I wrote them myself, but regardless, the way the song goes is, it's all the things that you think you're realizing about yourself that are in fact all lies. And it's just the things that everyone tells you so often that you believe them. And the breakdown of the song, which is where the part of the song I used for the ad, was an actual suicide letter that I had written for my parents as a teenager. And ended up not going through with it, obviously, and we recorded it. But I just brought it in one day when we recorded that part of the song and read it. Sang it. It was like a singing kind of song. It was like, so I'm not like going into hardcore into the notes or anything. But and they were all like, "Oh, dude, what was that?" And I told them, they were like, "Holy shit!" And it went on the album immediately. I was just trying some things out, and it was a test, and it just went right on the album. And so that's why I used that particular clip from that song on there.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody. By the way, if you're feeling bad, we're all good with.
Well, 100%.
You good with somebody saying, "Hey, I need help"?
Yep.
We've all kind of been like, yeah. Every now and then we have a buddy chat because it's just like, I feel like shit and I need somebody to talk to me really, really, really bad. Can we all just hang out together for a while?
Yeah.
And if you ever feel that way, give us a call out, man.
Yeah.
That's why we do the show about it sometimes, because sometimes we realize that we need it bad. We're watching all our friends struggle, so maybe they should join and either sit in, physically on the show or hop into chat and we'll all talk. Like, help is important, man.
And you can reach us on Discord too, by the way, if you're a typer and not a thing. I mean, oh wait, as I sit up, oh look at this shirt. Oh, what does it say?
Use the fucking forums. AKA our Discord. Get on there if you're not on there. We have a good time.
I've been wanting to show off that shirt. I've been promising people for years that I would make this shirt because I've for decades, because I was a guild master and I would make all these forums things and do all the posts and all of the guides, and then somebody'd say like, so what do I do when I get to here? Use the fucking forums. Use the fucking forums.
I'm wearing the very first t-shirt ever from Hell's Dungeon, the hunt that I worked for. So it was our year one shirt, and I still have this. I don't know how it still survived it, honestly. We have 3 copies of this shirt, and this is the only one that exists at home.
Okay. So since we're showing it off our shirts.
Ooh.
Nice. That's a nice Cooper shirt, dude. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I got it last year when he passed through Omaha, and he was on my bucket list, and he was amazeballs. I took my friend who had no idea, knew like 3 songs of his, and he was like, I'm watching to see if this guy is lip syncing, and he wasn't, and he was impressed. Although he like when they hit $1 billion babies and the giant baby bursts out of the wall and starts running around, he kind of leaned toward me and said, I have no idea what's going on now. And I'm like, but I had to explain the whole Steam thing to him on the drive back, so.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been one of those things where Karma was like, so what happened here? Oh, it takes more than 2 sentences? Never mind. I don't want to know. Just say something that has to do with stuff.
Oh, yeah.
My mother's awesome. She makes me, if you can't explain everything in 2 sentences or less, I don't want to know. If it requires a history lesson, I don't care at all.
Which I feel like
don't
is most of what we talk about all the time.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm like, so I start talking, like she summed up what H.P. Lovecraft is in like a couple of sentences. She's like, so I was trying to explain to her in the anthologies, and she's actually credited. We were just talking about this with Susan, or with Odd Mother, but my mom is in the forewords for both of the More Lore from the Mythos books that have been released so far by Fractured Mind Publishing, because I found it hysterical when I was trying to explain it all to her, like why people still wrote Lovecraftian fiction. And so she's like, so there's this guy who died, but he'd written these stories, and then all of his friends and other people just keep writing the stories to keep it going. And I'm like, yes. And so I sent it to my publisher, and he's like, that is the most succinct way to put this for people who've never read Lovecraft before ever. So my mom is published as an anonymous quote as one of our author's mothers. You read that? That's karma.
Nice.
But okay, guys, I'm gonna give you guys 2 more minutes to say hi. If you're just if you're hanging out, just say hi. Give me your name so I can throw you on the prize wheel. I'm trying a new one this week where I'm like actually taking the time to enter all of you on the prize wheel because we did have some issues with something, and we'll see if this one's any better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Any questions? I mean, everything in my entire life and career of many things is all on the table. So anything you always need to know.
Musician, monster hunter, accidental monster magnet,
great band,
author, accidental monster magnet.
Yeah, no, Monster Magnet. It's another old school band that I'm a big fan of. Also wrestler. I've never said this out loud. My first ever finishing move was the Moose Bomb, which was a version of a jackhammer pile driver into a spear into the mat. I was very, very muscly and huge when I was younger. I was very much into weightlifting and wrestling. So it was a very physical move that I could pull off. And my submission finisher, the first one ever, was a sleeper hold that I would use their own arm for. It's an old, well, not old, but it's a Kenpo technique where you just put someone to sleep with their own arm. So that was my whole finisher. It was simple, but it was nice. But that moose bomb was beautiful. And I came out all silver body paint, and I was a robot. They called me the Machine, and I was a horror wrestler. It was my first ever character, and he lasted for a whole 3 months. And then I got picked up by a bigger Fed and developed a manager character whose name was the Lunatic, Raven Lunatic, Ravyn. And they would wheel me in on a dolly with a straight jacket on, strapped to it with a Hannibal Lecter mask on. And I had dreads that went all the way to my waist. And there was like holy symbols and beads all woven in. So my head weighed like it was a 37, 38 extra pounds than it should have from all the from everything, the hemp, just everything. And I was actually on tour on and off. So like when I was playing that character at first, so I would come and be the manager for this really cool tag team called the Lunatic Fringe. And then one day someone undid my straps and I got in there and I completely destroyed the opposing tag team and then turned on my own tag team and destroyed them and became a singles wrestler and ended up getting the Hardcore Championship belt, which I still have the 11-month record for here in Dayton, Ohio. And I held that belt until a tragic accident that should have left me paralyzed for the rest of my life. And we still don't know why it did. Doctors are still surprised.
Well, I'm glad that it didn't.
Yeah. That's my entire wrestling career right there for you. A character, a manager, a character, a huge belt, a record, and then you're dead.
I found out very recently that, and did you know this, James? Mr. Carlson's twin daughters are professional wrestlers out of Miami.
Yep. And he manages them, I believe.
Yeah, they're the Sweet Heat, I think. Isn't that what it's? Something like that. Miami Heat.
Something like that. Yeah.
Similar. Yeah, they're my. He was our wrestling coach and a teacher at the school that we went to. But he's also. I used to babysit the girls when they were itty bitties, and it's like remembering like little tiny itty bitty girls that are like barely talking and stuff, and suddenly they're like putting on wrestling moves and like jumping, and it's kind of crazy.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't see the time between. Like they went from 2 to wrestlers, and I'm like, oh wow, you put on something.
Wrestling is a fun and fucked up industry, man. Like you end up living in a van and traveling a lot to make ends meet, and to go to one promotion after another until you get like a home promotion in your hometown, which is it's a lot of work to get that. And I remember I did the whole van traveling from city to city in the tri-state area a lot to do different shows before I got picked up with the first, then the bigger one later. And no, actually, I take that back. I did that for almost 2 years, and then I was actually in 3 different promotions because I just remembered another one that I was in. But it's a tough life, man. And then is wrestling fake? I'm here to tell you, yeah, but it is, but it's not. Often we know the storylines. The storylines are invented. They're written by smart people that are great writers who, know how to write with soap operas because that's what wrestling is. It's a soap opera for everyone. So,
and it's been going on forever because my mom used to watch it with her grandmother. Mm-hmm. It was like her favorite part of the week. So
it's been going on for many, many decades. And there's an art to it. It's entertainment. It's sports entertainment because that's what it is. It's sports, but we know it's going to happen. But the truth is, we learn how to do a lot of those moves so they don't hurt you as much. But sometimes that we end up hurting ourselves not to hurt the other wrestler, or an accident happens, or someone, like in my case, my last match, was too big for the britches to, I guess, coin a term, and decided that they didn't want to lose when they were scheduled to. And then they hurt people very severely and get ran out of town. But a lot of accidents happen. You see big stories all the time, and that's not storylining. Cody Rhodes just came back not that long ago and tore his pec muscle, and you could see it during the match. It happened during the match. Triple H, one of my favorites of all time, he tore his quad in the ring, and you can actually see the muscle. If you watch it, you can see the muscle roll up in his leg. He finished the match. Mick Foley is my personal hero for all wrestling ever. Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, whatever you want to call him. He lost part of his ear in a match. Hell in a Cell with Undertaker. Like that man alone has broken. Like him, I've broken nearly every bone in my body. Many more than once. I've lost teeth. I've lost all kinds of things in wrestling and not wrestling. But I mean, this is a life that's very tough. And is it fake in the degree as it's decided beforehand? Yeah, a lot of it is. but it hurts. It's painful. You do severe trauma to your body over a long period of time. And if you're not working for like WWE and etc., you don't have insurance. You don't got shit. So when you get hurt, they just toss you to the curb and your career's over, and that's it. That's how it ends for you.
So Tom took a power bomb at an indie show in Long Island.
Nice.
How's that?
Power bombs are tough, man.
What is a power bomb? You got to explain this to me. I'm not the biggest.
Basically, you're grabbing someone underneath, and you're picking them up like this around their waist, and you're then slamming them forward onto their back on the mat, the upper part of their back. And that sounds pretty bad, right? But a lot of the padding and the way that's done, especially if your ring is like tensioned right, you hit, but you kind of bounce up a little bit because it's just how the ring is made and stuff. So it hurts. Don't get me wrong. If you're on the mat, it hurts a little bit. It's, you're sore. But usually when you're power bombing people, the best way to do that is through a table, right? So those tables are pre-cut. They're pre-cut to fall when you hit them, right? Like a lot of these tables are. That's just how they are. The trash cans are basically made out of the equivalent of tinfoil. They crumble like there's no tomorrow. But a lot of these, even a lot of the canes, the chairs are rigged usually to not be that impactful. And there's ways you have to learn how to hold these objects or slam someone in these objects at the right angles. But sometimes that pre-cut table gets moved backstage because someone was a stagehand and thought it was a real table, and then put a real table there instead of the pre-cut one. And that's usually when that giant metal edge that's all around a folding table gets twisted and you lose fingers. I had a guy that lost 4 of his fingers on one hand in one match because he got power bombed and his hand was out too far, and it was a real table, or it was a non-cut table. So it's, again, and those accidents happen today, even in WWE, all the time. They just had an accident a couple pay-per-views ago where it was Edge and Finn Balor and a Hell in the Cell, and they had to go to Home Depot to replace one of their props, not thinking about it, and there was a problem, and Finn Balor got his head split open so bad there was blood everywhere, and he refused to leave the ring, so they had to put staples in his head during the match so he could continue because he refused to leave. So,
I'll have to have you and Tom do some wrestling stuff sometime.
Oh yeah, man. But it's real. The blood is real. Yeah, there's cutters amongst us. I'm not gonna say I didn't hide the razor blade and get the little slit at the base of your hairline, because when you do that and you get hit in the head, you can bleed forever from the front of your head. Nothing bad happens. It just leaves a scar. You'll see the scars in the hairline. Ric Flair was the god of that, obviously, with his bright white hair.
All right, I'm gonna hop in here. It's time to do our spins for the night, and we are going to have 3 arcs go out. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
3 arcs, and then the grand prize is somebody gets to design a character with Raz. It can be yourself. It can be somebody you hate. It can be somebody you love. It could be somebody that you want to die, and you get to help do that.
I've definitely done that a time or two.
All right. So forgive me for a second as we go Inception when I turn on the ad stream. I'm trying a new spinner right now, so we'll see how it works. Here we go. Wish me luck.
Wheel of morality. Turn, turn, turn. Teach us the lesson that we should learn.
Okay. So we click, and the first arc is going to go out to Nadine.
Nadine, yay.
Oh, it makes noise.
Oh, I can't hear the noise, but yeah.
Oh, it cheered for me.
Oh,
okay.
Hold on. I got a button for cheering. Where's it at?
Okay.
Oh. There we go.
Okay. I'm going to remove her for the next 2 arcs, and then we'll put everybody back in for the grand prize.
Gotcha.
Okay. So then the second arc is going to go to Overlord Chaos.
Who hasn't mentioned in the book?
There we go.
Well, you really need that Price is Right music.
Actually, Jar Jar Jeremy recorded a bunch of stuff for me for the other one, and we're going to upload it, but we didn't have time to do that. So, okay, here's our third arc. Spin, 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 spin.
Okay.
Nope, doesn't count for Jenny. Because she already has it. That didn't count. Jenny's there on accident. Sorry. Tom!
Woo!
Okay, now we're going to remove Jenny. Sorry, Jenny, but...
Yeah, he's got one.
Okay, and now for the grand prize of who gets to design a character. Nadine.
Got to get with me. We'll write a story featuring a character you're going to help me design and help me kill. And if I remember correctly, Josh is Tom, right? Is Josh Tom?
No, Tom is Tom. I'll give you Tom.
Josh is the walrus.
Congratulations. Wait. No, Josh, I think, is apparently Overlord. Because Tom
Oh
is
yeah,
Tom.
yeah. I'm sorry, my brain just died. Oh my god, I have not slept for days, and I had to work at the haunt for like 6 hours. Yeah, sorry, my brain is just toast.
All right, so we will be getting in touch with you guys after the show. And does anybody have anything else going on? I just see we're getting close to 2 hours. So.
Yeah, I know that a lot of your guests do a reading of some sort usually.
Yes. Oh, I was going to ask for that.
So I got to.
Thank you. Sorry,
it takes me a little bit to scroll down pages. I'm going to do the shorter one because again we're almost at that 2 hour mark. The one I'd like to do, because I talked about how much I meant earlier, was the modern ghost story. It's definitely the shortest one in the collection as well.
And I'm sneaking out for a second. Oh, you get this because I have to go to the bathroom.
That's good. You're totally
okay.
Have fun.
It's going to take me a minute to actually scroll down to it anyhow, because I'm old and it takes me a while to do the things that I'd like to do. And like an idiot, I did not prepare that ahead of time.
Don't we all, though?
Right. There it is. All right. This is my reading of a modern ghost story from the Riverside Chronicles. I gotta light a cigarette because I can't read stories unless I'm smoking. It's a thing. I've spent the last 11 years of my life knowing that I was incomplete. Even as an old man now, it haunts me. There's this empty place inside, a black hole, if you will. It breaks me down and it sucks me in a little more each day. All because I know that I'll never see him again. I live in the same town where I lost him. I wear the same kind of clothes, listen to the same kind of music, and I have the same haircut. Nothing's changed about me since then, besides the pieces I'm still losing along the way. I tell myself that I could leave this town behind, that I can change and start a new life. I tell myself I can choose not to look at his picture just this once. Deep down, I know that none of that is true. I'll always be here. I'll always be the same person I was. His picture will always be right next to me. Time will never march on. I exist in an infinite loop of memories and mourning, a cycle both vicious and comforting. It starts when I wake up and see his picture, and it ends when I look at it once more before I fall asleep. Sometimes there's an encore in my dreams. Sometimes the silence is deafening. Those quiet nights are the worst nights of all. It's on those nights I wake up and I realize that no matter who shares my bed, I am truly alone. He still whispers to me when I'm worthy of hearing it. He still guides me despite his absence, and everything I do, I find him lurking somewhere just out of reach. But without him, my pages are empty. My canvas is blank. My music has no rhythm. In those moments, I wonder which of us is really the ghost. And those are the days when that cycle breaks me down and I can't even function. But most days, it's the only thing that keeps me tethered to the world. More often than not, it gives me the strength that I need to exist, the courage to endure, and the inspiration to reach for the stars, and the compassion to forgive myself for being too late, for failing him. And these are the lies I tell myself. I should have known what he was planning. I should have known the signs. I should have seen them somehow, and I knew him better than I'll ever know myself. When the world is quiet and the outlight fades, I become the postmortem detective. I obsessively search for evidence or some clue that might aid me in solving the case somehow, and as if that will, I don't know, grant me the redemption I can never grant myself. We were heroes once. We were villains. We were everything in between. And even when our paths diverged, convergence was guaranteed, just around the bend. Our roads led to him and from him to me. We were an empire, never once understanding that even Rome was destined to fall. And some pains are too great. Some losses can never be regained, and he knew those things and more, perhaps better than I ever will. With that knowledge, he chose his hill, and upon it he is rested ever since. But I remain a landscaper, decorating with the hopes and dreams that never came to be. It's possible you expected more and you found this mysterious time capsule, buried in the woods where we used to play. On the other hand, maybe you've lost the same things I have along the way. Maybe, just maybe, this is the key to finding them again. And if nothing else, I hope it inspires you to tell your own story someday. The things I've included inside this capsule may seem confusing, but they represent the only parts of my life, the only times when I truly lived. He likes the white cardigan that he always thought was magic. The flannel I wore like armor in his defense. The rabbit's foot he hid in his sock to bless us. The magic 8-ball that often led us astray. The guitar he used to make our world a better place. Here lies the mask I wore and still wear in his absence. Here lies the proof that two strangers at birth became brothers and met the world as one. And here lies his body, as lifeless as the day I shuffled him off his mortal coil. I don't know who will find this or what the world will be like when it's found. I can only hope that we somehow made it a better place with the time that we had. Sincerely, a ghost.
Oh, I love that story so much.
And
that is
there's
beautiful.
one sentence I added in that. I forgot. There was only one sentence I added to the original remembrance letter that spun it to make it a horror tale. At the very end of all the things I left in the time capsule, it was his body. So the character is admitting that he's the reason the friend died. That the MC in the story killed his friend and stuck him in there. Basically, that's the whole vibe that changed. Like literally everything I had written with that one little sentence. So it's weird how fiction works like that, man. You can take something very real and add one tiny, like 1% of fiction that just changes like the whole thing. That was kind of a cool experiment.
Mm-hmm. I really do love that one.
That's the first time that I've fully really like performed or like really read that one out loud. So that was a tough one, man.
Well, we got a treat though.
Yeah,
it's good to hear.
But yeah, that just goes to show you that horror can mean a lot of different things. Like I said, with this collection, I wanted to show people who were maybe nervous about writing horror for the first time or reading it or getting into it, that horror can be not just the 13 different things that I wrote in this collection, but it can be anything that you find horrific or hard to deal with or just have a hard time with. And you can do that in any way that you see fit. So I hope that even people that aren't used to horror pick this up and they see that, and maybe it inspires them to write a story or a novel or even just flash fiction or a sentence. There's 2-sentence horror stories that are really popular these days. But use that to realize that horror can be whatever it is to you, because horror, although it is very much speculative fiction, it's personal. It should be personal to the writer. And yeah, that's kind of my whole purpose for this.
Well, awesome. So, okay, we've gone over everything that we've had out recently and some things that are coming up. I'm very excited about the new kids book and the second edition of Silence is Crimson as well. And you guys are going to get some emails, well, some IMs tonight probably, that are going to get you smart copies before it comes out.
Yeah.
Those of you who want. And other than that, do we have anything else for tonight?
I can't announce next year because we're getting into like the future of my writing slate. So obviously this year we have around September 11th was when I'm hoping to release this book, because that's when my brother's actual birthday was. So I was trying to hit that mark for Silence is Crimson Homecoming, and then Children's Book Week in beginning of December will be the sequel to Lincoln, and next year we will get Riverside Chronicles 2. 3, which I don't have a subtitle quite yet for. I'm still working on that one. You'll get that year, along with Riverside Chronicles 2, Home Sweet Home, and a third Lincoln book, which I have yet to decide what that's going to be yet. So that's my only mystery on what that's going to be next year. So, and I know I've got another short story collection coming up also this year that I almost completely blanked on. I'm going to be doing another one of those with Fae Corps, so I'll talk more about that when it gets closer to me actually finishing this story and getting it in. But it's more of a romance story. But me being me, it's going to be romance horror. So I'm really excited about that one. And yeah, if you're a fan of the 90s, there's a big lead into the 90s in that one. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Nice. And if you forget anything, we have Jenny, who will be here. I'm the other half of Raz's brain, and Jenny's the one who remembers shit that neither of us do.
Yep.
So she looks into
This is
stuff.
very true.
Okay, so I'm going to check with you. I got it right. Fist bump.
Mhm.
Kind of.
That
Yeah,
was
fist
epic.
bump. Did you like that?
Darn it.
James?
Let's try it again. Boom. All right.
Wonder Twins. Unite.
Form of a water bucket.
Form of a moat. You tried
I
to trap
was-
a bear with a moat? What's wrong with you?
You drowned the bear.
And how do you know that Wonder Woman was taking a bath at the time? I was the bath water. Anyway,
I just thought she did it in the invisible jet.
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
I
Great.
love Harvey.
Okay, so James, how do you like to have people get a hold of you?
Me, physically, try to go for the wrist, but necrosarks at gmail.com. Otherwise, movies-and-beer.blogspot.com. I'm on Facebook and on Twitter, and I kind of lurk around Discord a lot as well. So
And most of your info should be in our links, or at least
Yeah.
some of it, so you can find the rest.
yeah, I wanted to mention that I am finishing up a bunch of the stories that I started, so you can know what happens in a couple of them. I know it's kind of infuriating, but I kind of wanted to get a collection called Nebraska Gothic going. I don't know if I'm going to self-publish or anything, but we'll see how this goes. Some of you have actually read some of my stuff. I've read a couple of them during these campfire things. So
Nice, man.
I don't know.
I'll hook you
Yeah,
with Patty over at Fae Corps, man.
Yeah,
I'd definitely be interested in hopping in the Nebraska Gothic. That would be super fun.
Yeah,
Because I
there's-
keep accidentally writing Gothic.
right. Well,
It's not a purpose.
well, I have a lot of time on my hands right now, so
Less time on your feet. Oh,
I
oh that was very good.
actually got the new one in, so I'm trying to. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm still gonna turn into a pipe one day when he's sleeping.
Everybody's just like, we have no idea what they're talking about. But okay.
I look underneath my bed. There's Raz going, "Hello."
Your foot is now a bong.
I'm on your way.
I'll run
I'm
away.
stopping by here while I go and drop a letter from some insane person in Pickwitch in Terry's mailbox.
Hello, Mr. Case. It is 4:20 now. Magic time. Tra la 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 la.
And Raz, how do you want everybody to get in touch with you? We have the books to read down there, and we have some of your links. But what is your favorite form of being reached by?
Firmly. RastySlasher.com. Honestly, everything I do, I put on there. A lot of the links that we're doing. Apparently, Stage 32, which was a new one for me today. Jenny works really hard to get me out there and to get me over myself because I'm my own worst enemy and I'm my own barrier, honestly, to really getting out there. So she's been helping me out with that a lot. She kills it for me on my Rasty Facebook. There's a TikTok. There's an Instagram. There's a just about everything and things I've never even heard of out there, and we're slowly getting a lot of the things on the site fixed. She's got a newsletter we're getting going here soon, so you can get anyone that we get the email from the book. We're going to add you to the newsletter, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So yeah, she's helped me with all this stuff, and we're about to remove the whole blog section from the website. Actually, all the free stories gone, and probably in the next couple days. And so all the stories on there will be gone. All the blog entries are going to be gone. We're going to do that differently from now on with the blog. But that means there will be some new secret sections added to the website. So I don't even know what those fully are going to be yet until I make them this week. So Rasty
Memorize the Konami code.
Yeah, and then we'll have I guess I'm going to actually have to build one of those link trees now. It looks like, which I've never made. I never thought about needing to make before, but now I definitely do. So that'll be up there, and yeah, and also survivehellsdungeon.com. That's the website for the haunt that I built the website, but it's a haunt that I help do acting management for. I do videos for it, and I'm a full-time actor there. And it's probably one of the, other than the podcasting with you guys, it's probably the other biggest part of my life right now. So this is one of those years where we're really trying to get out there. We're really trying to get everybody down. So this is our make it or break it year. So if you've ever wanted to visit us, now might be your year. So definitely get on down and show us some love and help us get the word out for that. Definitely. And the owner just messaged me a little bit ago, Mr. Fred Hearn, and wanted me to tell you all hello, podcast land. That was his word. Everyone in podcast land.
Hello.
There you go, Fred.
All right. And for me, everybody, just look up, you can look up Delphine Caldracaca on Facebook. You can also find me at Carrie Sanders, Kari. If you see a crow, it's me, more than likely, unless somebody's impersonating me, in which case they can caw off. And you'll find me here on PBDC. Thank you. As well as I've lately been doing a little bit of guest hosting here and there on The Dorkening, and once over with Tom on Brill Pro. And you can find all of those wherever fine podcasts are broadcast. Copyright Brandon Powers on that phrase.
Oh yeah. And also,
anyway,
if you can pronounce her entire name 5 times from a mirror in a dark bathroom, she will also appear.
I will. And I'll just ask you for a cigarette or a cup of coffee or something.
Oh yeah,
don't worry. I don't
on your bowl, you know.
Coke Zero.
Maybe
it's like, hey, be good. All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up tonight. Everybody have a good night, and we will see you later.
Don't forget to suck it.
Steve Van Sampson, Curtis M. Lawson, Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smith,